Welcome back to Complete Web 3.0 project. In this project, you will be building your own cryptocurrency ERC20 token. You will be building front-end application where user can come and buy your token. You can able to transfer token from one account to other accounts as a gift, or user can buy that token. So this project is the one of the best Web3 project you will find currently on YouTube. You will learn how to write smart contract. You will learn how to test smart contract. You will learn how you can design beautiful, responsive Web3 applications. You will learn how to use Next.js or React hooks and React Context API for state management. So there is a lot of things you will learn in this complete project. And once you code this project along with me, and you can able to create your own cryptocurrency and make it ICO so user can buy and purchase and you can make money out of it. And at the end, we're going to deploy the smart contract. So with that said, let's start the project. Here we are in Visual Code Studio. Simply open up your terminal and type cls to clear a terminal. And now we have to initialize next app. So type npm create next app dot enter. So here we have initialized next application in our project, and on the right hand side you need to file a couple of folders and files. So the very first thing you have to do is to delete this readme file. So click on this and delete. Now come back to your terminal, clear your terminal, and now we have to initialize hard hat. So type npx hard hat init, because we're going to use hard hat for building our smart contract and testing. So let's install that hard hat in our file. Hit enter, and simply install the required packages. So copy this line and paste and install. So we have successfully initialized hard hat in our project. And hard hat creates a couple of folders and files. We're going to explore that. But very first thing we have to do is to open your package.json file. And here you will find all the packages which we are using in our project. So the name of the token, versions, private keys, and all the dependency you will find here. Now we have to do is to delete those packages which we don't want to use in this project. So in this project, we're not going to use ESLint. So simply uninstall these packages, because we want to start from the clean environment and we don't want to have any extra dependency in our project. So let's remove all the packages which we don't want to have in this project. So simply copy and uninstall that, npm uninstall ESLint and hit enter. Now we have to uninstall this ESLint config next package as well. So simply copy this and uninstall this, paste and uninstall this. So here we have a clean environment. We only need those packages which we want to use in this application. So simply bring the terminal up. Let's come here and go to this file and delete this one as well, because we don't want this. And now let's bring the terminal down. Let's come here in the pages and we have to delete this API folder as well. Now let's come to app.js, and this is the normal functions created by next application. And now we have to convert this to arrow function. Okay, so simply change this to arrow function, take a variable const bracket and come here, and we have to give this arrow functions. Now remove this bracket and simply remove this one, copy this and cut and paste inside this. So we want to return instantly, so that's why we don't need to take this dynamic block. So simply remove this, So that's the only configuration we have to do in our app.js. Later we're going to do other configurations when we use the context API for sharing the data. Okay, so this is the initial configuration we are doing. Now let's come to index.js and simply select all the code and delete, type RAFC and change this to home. So this is the starting point of our application, index.js. So make sure you do these changes, save it, close this one, close this files. Now let's come here. So in this script folder, we have this deploy.js file. And this is the file is going to be responsible for deploying our smart contract. And this folder is created by Hardhat. So you will find a couple of folders like contract, script, test. All these files are created by Hardhat, which we're going to use for deploying our smart contract and testing. So in the deploying file, we have to do a couple of changes. Simply remove this comment, and we need to remove a couple of unnecessary code because we don't want to initialize this code in our smart contract. So simply remove this one, and we have to remove this portion as well because we don't need to pass any argument in our smart contract. We do have to pass the number of token we want to assign to our ICO. So that's what we're going to do later when we complete our smart contract. Okay, so simply remove this code. Now we have to change the name to our smart contract. Okay, so let's call it FunToken, and here we have to also call FunToken here, FunToken, and this will also become a FunToken but with small f. So here what we are doing, first we are giving the name of our smart contract, and that's we are passing in the get contract factory. Then we are deploying and getting the instant of that, and once the contract is deployed, we are taking the address of the contract so we can connect with our frontend application. So that's the only thing we are doing here. Let's remove this code as well, and that's the deployed file for our smart contract. Okay, now let's close this one. And here we have a test file. So for testing the smart contract, we have two options. We can use the Hardhat for testing the smart contract using the inbuilt Hardhat test feature. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to use Remix ID. Once we build the smart contract, we're going to use Remix ID for doing the smart contract. Okay. If you guys want me to make a dedicated video on the testing using Hardhat, then do leave in the comment section. So in my next project, I'm going to show you that how you can test your smart contract using Hardhat. So we're not going to do anything with this file. Simply close this one, close this as well. So let's come here, and now we have to create the folder and file structure for this project. So we need couple of folders and couple of files. So let's create a folder and let's call it context. So in this context folder, we're going to create our constants and the API calls, which will allow us to communicate with our smart contract. Okay, so let's click here and just call it FunToken.js. Okay, this is the first file, and now we have to create one more file. This will call constants.js. So these are the two files we need to create in our constant. Now let's create one more folder. This will call component, and inside the component we need to create a couple of folders. And the first folder we'll create called user. So all the transactions the user will do of the token on the applications, this is the component we're going to display all the details. Okay, inside the user folder we have to create two more files. One, user.jsx, and we have to create the CSS file as well in the same folder, user. So let's expand this one and let's create one more file, user.module.css. So because we are using Next.js in this application, so make sure you should provide this extension user.module.css in your CSS file. Okay, so we are done with the user folder. Now we have to create a couple of more folders. So let's create one more folder, and this will call transfer. And inside the transfer folder we have to create two more files. So transfer.jsx, and we have to create this one. Just drag and drop inside the transfer folder. Now we have to create one more file which is called module.css. So this is the two files. Let's create one more, and this folder will call NavBar, and inside that we have to create navbar.jsx and navbar module.css. So this is the folder and file structure for our component. Simply close all the tabs, all the files, and let's close this one and let's see. Everything is good in the transfer user, and this one is also looking good. Log file. So actually, we know we're going to create our own smart contract file. So simply delete this one. We don't need this one. So delete this file, and let's create our own sol. So let's create the smart contract file, own file, and let's call it FunToken.sol. And this is going to be the place where we're going to write our smart contract for ERC20 token and ICO. Let's close this one, and this is the deploy file. Everything's look good, and as you can see, I have given the same name. What the name I have given to my is Solidity smart contract file. Everything is looking. Close this one and close this one, and let's come to back to the terminal, and we have to install a couple of packages which allow us to communicate with our smart contract, like Web3 model and Ether.js. So let's install Web3 model first. Clear your terminal, and now we have to install Ether.js. Clear your terminal, and let's open your package.json file, and here you can be able to find the packages we have installed just now: Web3 model and Ether.js. So everything's looking fine. Now let's open up your terminal and let's run the application and check. So let's close all these folders and files, and we're done with the folder and file structure for this project. And now let's upload this entire folder structure to GitHub, so you guys can get as a starter file. Okay, so to do so, let's open up your browser and go to GitHub. Type GitHub, and here is my repo. You will find all the project which I have worked on, and so when you come here, make sure you give a like. So let's click on new, and here you have to give the name of the repo. So let's call it like funny token. Okay, I'll make it public so you guys can get, and here we have to initialize this command in our terminal. So first thing is get init, and now we have to do this get add dot. This will add the files of this project in our get repo, and now we have to copy this and simply paste here. Hit enter. Simply copy this branch, main branch, and hit enter. Simply copy the URL of this repo and paste, and now we have to push this to GitHub. So we have to run this command. Come here and push. Hit enter, and here the entire code is on the GitHub now. The push is already completed. Now let's come back to GitHub and reload the browser, and here you will find all the folders and files which we have created for this project. So click on the component, and here you will find those three files. So NavBar, this is the transfer. So it's working fine. So I have provided all the assets which I have used in this project on my website. So simply type Daulat Hussain and come here, click on the very first link, and this is my website where you will find all the project which I have worked in the past along with the source code, so you guys can check. Go to this blog sections, and this is the very first article in which you will find all the resources of this project. So click on this and simply scroll down, and here you will find the starter file of this project. So if you stuck anywhere, make sure you come and get the files from here. Now let's close everything and let's come back to the terminal, come back to the project. So let's open up the package.json file, and here are a couple of script which is get created automatically when you will install the Next.js app. So for development we have dev, before building we have a build command. So we're going to initialize in a development mode. Okay, so we're going to run this command. So let's come here and type npm run dev, and simply press control and hit enter on the 3000 with the mouse, and it will open the application on your localhost 3000. And as you can see, everything's working fine. Let's zoom out. Now let's come here and close the terminal, and now we're going to start with our smart contract. So what I have planned for this project, first we're going to build the smart contract, write down all the logic for the ERC20 token. Then we're going to move to the second part of this tutorial where we're going to build the connection between the smart contract and the front-end application. We'll write all the logics, and finally we're going to build the entire front-end application, and then we're going to style it. Okay, So this is the approach I'm taking. Okay, so let's open the contract folder and let's start working on our fun token. So let's give the license identifier as PDX license identifier, and it would be MIT1. Then we have to define the Solidity version 0.4.22, and it should be less than 0.9.0. Now we have to give the name of the contract. So we'll call our contract fun token, and this is the name we have given in our deploy section. Okay, the fun token, and then same name I'm giving, and make sure you give the same name, fun token. The first variable we'll take, which is a string type public name. So this is going to be name of our, so I'll call it fun token. You can call your name. Then we'll take another variable. This will be a string public, and this will be the symbol of our token. So I'll call it fun. We'll take another string. It would be public, and we'll define the standard of the token. Okay, so later if you want to update anything in your token, you can do it. So the standard is going to be called fun token v201, and it's going to be a string. We'll take another variable called unt public, and this will be our total supply. So how many, so total supply of the token. So initially it will not have any value. We're going to assign the initial value of the token, initial number of token, when we'll deploy the smart contract in our constructor. So we'll take another unt, and this would be a public and id. Okay, so every transaction will assign a particular id to that transaction for that transfer token. Okay, so these are the couple of state variable. Now we have to define one more, an address public, and this is the owner of the contract. So whoever will deploy the smart contract, that's the address we're going to keep the track and update it here. Okay, now this is our state variable, and here we are missing something. Remove this comma. Okay, now look perfect. Now we have to initialize couple of event, because whenever you do any transfer of tokens, you have to add this event, and this is the standard event recommended by ERC20 token. Okay, so if you want to build your token, you have to define you have to follow the standards which is there, and event is one of that. So we'll call it transfer, and in that we're going to add the address index and from. Now we have another address index true, and then we have to define the value of the token, number of token. So this is the first event. Simply come down, and we have to add one more event, approval. So what if what if you want to authorize someone else to transfer the token on behalf of you? So this is the approval event we have to trigger whenever that happens. So in this, we're going to define the same property, address index, that's, we'll call it owner, and address index, and this will call resend spender, and there is the value. So this is the approval. So now it's look good. Now we have to create the mapping. So mapping, and we want to map it address, and this will call token holder info public token holder infos. Okay, this will keep the track of entire token holder, and all the property will assign to those token holder, including ID and name and address and token. So let's define the struct. So we'll call it token. So make sure you give the same name, token holder info, and here we have to define all the struct. So first is going to be the unt, this is the token ID, and second one is going to be the address, which is from another address true, and we have a unt variable, this is called the total supply, total token, and boolean. So whether that address hold the token or not, that will keep the track this boolean. Okay, so these are our struct, and this is our the state variable. Everything's look good. Now let's come down. We'll take another constructor, and we're going to initialize the number of tokens. So that's why we are taking this unt variable and each initial supply, and the owner of the contract is going to be the method.sender. Whoever will call this deploy this contract, that's going to be the owner of the contract. And here what we have to do, we have to create another mapping, and we have to keep the track of the balance. So we'll do address and unt, public, and this will call balance of. And now we have to initialize, and now we have to assign this balance to the owner of the contract, because initially we'll have when because initially when we'll deploy the smart contract, it will have certain coins, certain tokens, and that token we want to assign to a particular address, and who will deploy the smart contract, that address is going to hold that initial supply of the token. Okay, and so that's what we are doing. So balance of message.sender and initial supply. So that's it. And we have to update the total supply to initial supply. So this is our constructor. We are taking that, updating the balance and total supply. Now let's move. Now we have to create one function which allow us to keep the track of the ID. Every time we'll call this function, it will increase one number to the ID. So let's create this function. And for this function, we can use external libraries like OpenZeppelin, but call it, and this will be internal. And we want to update the ID, increase the ID number. So this is the increment function. Now let's come here. Let's write another function for transfer token. Okay. In this, we have to pass the address to and the amount of value. So when we want to transfer as a owner of the contract, and so this transfer function will transfer the token to the address, and in thus we are passing these two value, address and UNT and value, and it's gonna be a public return, and we have to return the boolean success. Inside this, we're going to do a couple of things. Okay, we have to check the requirement. So this would be called balance of message.sender should be greater than value, number of token you want to send, it should be greater than the balance. Okay, so balance should be greater than number of token he is trying to send. So this is the first check we are doing. Once it get passed, we have to call the increment function that will increment the ID. Now we have to update the balance. So balance of message.sender, we have to minus the balance from there, and we have to update the balance to the address where he want to send the token. Okay, so that's the transfer functions, and that's the boolean. This is the requirement. And now we have to call the struct and update all the data about this particular transfer. Okay, so we'll take the token holder info storage, and we call token holder info. You can call this any name, because the reason we have taken this storage key was because we are making the change in our state variable, and we have to call this token holder infos, which contain all the information about the individual transfer. Okay, and here we have to update the data. So token holder info dash 2 is going to from, and let's change this to message.sender. So here we have the struct, that's the information we are updating. Let's come here. This will call value, and this will call total token. This one is token holder. Initially it will be true. So when the transfer happen, we have to turn it to true from false. And let's change this one to user ID, and change this as well to token ID. Okay, these are the events updated struct. And now we have to keep the address in that. So we need to push the address. So we'll call it token holder dot push, and we'll push this address which contain the token. So in this we have the address. Now let's come down. Now we have to call the event. So in this we're going to pass the message.sender to and value, and now we have to return the true. Okay, that's what we are checking for. We are returning boolean, and we have to once the transfer is get successful, we have to return the true. So this is our transfer functions. Everything's look good. Let's close this one, and now let's write other function. So we'll call it functions approve. We'll pass the address and spender. This will have UNT, number of token, and public return, and it will also return boolean value success. So with this function, what we are doing, we'll try to approve other account to send token on behalf of us. Okay, so that's this function will do. So let's create another mapping which keep the track of this approval function. Okay, so we'll take the mapping and we'll assign the address, and this will keep the track of the mapping, and it will keep the track of the address and the token, number of token. It would be a public, and we'll call it allowance. Allowance. So now we have to call that allowance here, and we'll call it message.sender. Then we have to call the spender, and then we have to assign the value. So here we have to pass that value. So here value. So this is how we are doing this nested mapping. We are giving the name of the variables, then we are calling that whoever will call it the functions. We are taking the address, then we are assigning the address to a spender, and then we are adding that value. So this is how we are passing the value in the nested mapping. Now let's come down, and we have to initialize the event, approval event. Here we'll call the message.sender, spender, and value. Now we have to return true. So this is our approval function for the smart contract. Okay, so hope you guys are getting what we are writing here. Okay, we are approving someone else to spend token on behalf of us. So let's come here and let's write other function. So this function will call transfer from, because there is one transfer function which allow to transfer token. Anybody can transfer token from with that function if they have the token, but this transfer from token will allow only those accounts which going to transfer the token on behalf of the owner of the contract. Okay, so that's the function we are writing here. So in this we're going to pass couple of variables. First one is going to be the address of the from the account we are transferring the token, and to the account we are transferring, and the value, the amount of token we are transferring. Okay, so the from is going to be the owner of the contract, to is going to be the account where we want to send the token, and the value the number of token we want to send, and it will be public, and we have to return boolean success. And here we have to write down the logic. So first thing we're going to do balance of the from account, and we have to subtract it from value, and now we have to update it to, very simple, and we have to call this allowance function. We have to keep the track of this as well. So we have from, and we have to call this message.sender, and we have to simply update the balance, so dot value. And now we have to initialize the event and transfer event we're going to do it. So it's going to be the same. So everything's working fine. Now we have to return this true. So when this transfer functions get successfully transferred, we have to return this true. So we are not doing any fetching. We are passing 3 variables, checking the balance, updating the balance, and then we are creating the allowance reference to the transfer. Okay, and then event. Let's come here and let's write other function. So this will call get token holder data. So this will allow us to keep the data from our smart contract so we can display in our front-end application. Okay, because all the data inside this mapping, and from that mapping we have to get the data. So in this we're going to pass the address of the account, and it would be public view return, and in this will return simply the entire unt address and address unt and boolean. So all the data we have defined in our struct, that's all we're going to return from these functions, and that's all variables we are passing: unt, address, unt, and boolean. And here we have to define the return value. So token holder info, and this address will dedicate to the information to that particular token holder, and we want to get the token ID of that account. So here let's come here and let's token holder info address, and we want to take the to from which account he got the token, and we have to define this from, we have to define this token, total token, and we have to define this one token holder. So all these data we are receiving with this to get token data function, and here we are getting this error. I don't know why. So let's come here, and finally the error is gone. So I stuck for 10 minutes to find out that why this error was happening, but Once I restarted my application, there is no longer there. Okay, so this is our get token holder data function. It's working fine. We are passing the data, receiving all the informations, and that's happening from here. Now let's come down and let's write other functions. So this will call function get token holder and public view return, and in this we want to return the address. And the reason why I have used the memory keyword instead of the storage, because I want to take the reference of the data in our smart contract, and this will allow me to save cache. Okay, I'm not doing any changes in my state variable, so that's why you will find this keyword view and memory. We want to take the reference of the data, and that's the data we want to return. So we'll call it return, and we have to return the token holder. So this is the array we want to return from these functions, which we're going to use to loop over it and to find the data of it. Okay, so this is our Solidity smart contract. This is all the events. This is our mapping. This is our struct, and this is another mapping. So this is the struct. Let's simply do one thing. Let me cut this one and paste here all the mapping together. Okay, so these are the mapping, these are the struct, these are the constructor, and this is the increment function, transfer, approval, and we have this transfer form functions and token holder data, and we have this get token holder. So all the smart contract is working fine, and now it's time to test all the functionality we have written in our smart contract. So we can do testing right here in our project using hard hat, but I just want to keep that for a separate video. Okay, if you guys want me to make a video or using hard hat testing the smart contract, then do leave in the comment sections and hit that like. So if I get 100 likes, then definitely I'm going to make a project on that where we'll test a smart contract in the hard hat. Okay, so let's simply copy this entire smart contract code and come back to this remix id, and let's create this file. So I have already tested this code in remix id. So what I will do, I will simply select all this and remove, paste here. These are the code, and as you can see, I have used auto compile, so my code is successfully compiled. Now let's try to deploy the smart contract. So this is the first account of remix id I'm using for deploying the smart contract. So when I will deploy the smart contract, I will pay the gas fee for that. Okay, so let's come here, the first account I'm taking, and this is the contract name, and here I have to initialize the number of token I want to create in my smart contract. So ERC20 token, so I'll want to create close to let's say million token. Let's hit on deploy, and this is the instant of the smart contract. Let's open it, and here you will find all the function we have created in our smart contract, and we can check the value of it. Okay, so if I open this console, here you can able to find the deployment is successful, and if I open this all, you can able to find all the informations about the deployment. So the transaction has the status, the account from you have deployed the smart contract to you have deployed, and the gas fee you have paid, the transaction cost, execution costs. But here you have noticed that the gas amount we are paying for deploying the smart contract is really high, because we are not optimizing this smart contract for gas prices. So there is a lot of things we can do in the smart contract to optimize the gas fees, so we have to pay less gas fee for this, and that's what I will keep for a different video. Okay, so this is the call stack, all the information you will find about the deployment of the contract. You can see the variables we have assigned, and the initial supply we have given this 1 million token. So everything you will find, and here you will get the total supply of the token, symbol, and the standard, the on of the contract, which is the first account which deploy this smart contract, and this is the name of the token. Okay, this all working fine, and here we have paid couple of gas fee for doing this testing. Now let's check the balance. Okay, this is the functions. So from here we can able to check the balance of the token. So this is the on of the contract, and let's check his balance, that how many token this account has. If I call this, and this is, you can see the on of the contract has this 1 million token. So it's working. This is the user ID because we have no user currently. And let's call the transfer function. So let's come here, take the second account, copy, and click on the first account, and simply transfer some token to the second account. So we'll have to pass the address, and we have to pass a number of token. So the token is going to be 5,469 token we want to transfer to the account number 2, and simply click on transfer, and you can see the transfer is successful. Copy the address number 2 account and go back there and simply test the number of token this token account has. Okay, so let's paste here, and you can see we have this account contain 5,469 token. But if we check the deployed owner of the contract will have some less token there. So right now the account owner have the token is 994564, because we have transferred couple of token to the account number 2. So this transfer function is working fine. If we click on the if we click on user ID, we have ID 1 because we have created one account, one token holder. And if we pass this token holder ID, let's pass it 0 because it's an array. Okay, this token holder contain all the addresses of the token transfer. Okay, so this is the one address where we have transferred the token. So if we pass the address of the token holder, we'll get the detail of it. So let's paste the address, copy the address here, and let's come up here and simply copy the address, and let's try to get the detail of it. Simply, as you can see, get token holder, this is the address. It's working fine. Now let's pass the address here and get the data from it. Click here, and here you can see all the data of this token holder, ID number, the address from he got the token, and his token address, account address, then number of token he has, and the boolean is turned to true. So this function is also working fine. We have all the data, number of token and true. And here is one more function which is called token holder. So here we have to pass the simply address, and it will give us the details. As you can see, same function. So this is how we can get the data of the token holders. So all the functions is working fine. Now let's work on the allowance and approve. Okay, so let's come here and let's copy the account number 3. And first we have to copy the account number first, because we have to define that from which account we want to transfer the token. So first is going to be from, and the second account is going to be true. Okay, so number of token is going to be, let's say 100. So in this approve function we have to pass two value. One is the address who we want to approve, and number of token he can transfer on behalf of us. And let's call this approve. The transaction is successful. And if we come here and where it come, so this is the balance. Okay, let's copy the address and let's call transfer the token we have approved. Okay, so let's copy the address of the owner, contract holder, and pass here, and then we have to get the token where we want to send the token. Copy the address, let's transfer the token to account number 2. Okay, copy the address and simply paste here, and we have to transfer and give the token. Okay, so we want to transfer 100 tokens. Now let's come back here and let's go to our 2 account, and let's call this function. The transaction is successful. So we have successfully transferred the account from one account to other with the help of approval function, and you can see all the call stack. So everything's working fine, and copy the address, and let's come here and let's try to check the balance. So click here, and as you can see, now we have updated balance. Earlier it was 5,416.39, but now we have transferred 100 more token to this account, so it's get updated to 500. So it's also working fine. So all these functions are working fine. We can able to do the transfer, allowance, getting balance, so everything's looking good. Let's bring it. So everything's working fine. So with this we can move ahead. Okay, so all the things working fine. Let's have a look. Okay, this one is also good. mapping. These are the state variables, events. And let's come back to our code editor. So everything's working fine in the remix ID. So let's close this one. So finally, we have completed the very first section of our project. We have created our smart contract. Now let's deploy the smart contract. Okay, so open up your terminal and let's split this terminal into part. So first thing we have to do is to initialize hard hat in our terminal. So to initialize that, all we have to do is to type npx hard hat node and hit enter. So this is the command you have to run to initialize hard hat in your terminal, and this will give you a couple of accounts. So as you can see, hard hat will give you 9, altogether 20 accounts along with the private key, and each account has some close to 1000 ethers which you can utilize to test your smart contract. So we have this 20 accounts, and the first account we have used to deploy our smart contract. Okay, so make sure your hard hat is running, then you have to deploy a smart contract. So let's come here on the other terminal, and this is the command you have to run. So let me bring it up here, and this is the command. So type npx hard hat run script, because our deploy file is inside the script, and /deploy.js, and here you have to provide the network. So we are choosing the network to localhost. So if you want to deploy this contract to any remote locations like Rinkibai, Covin, then you have to provide that location address, and you have to do the configuration in your hard hat. But we are deploying the smart contract to our localhost. So make sure when you deploy a smart contract, you must have to keep running this hard hat node. Okay, so now you have to hit enter and just wait. Here the process is started, and here we have successfully compiled our smart contract, and here we have got the contract address. As you can see, this is the contract address. Simply copy this. Let's bring the terminal down and let's simply paste the this is the contract address of our smart contract, and now we have to export couple of things. So before we export that, we have to, once you deploy a smart contract, hard hat will create couple of files for you. So here you will have a artifact folder which is get created once you deploy the smart contract, and you will have this cache folder. So we'll get these two folders. So inside the artifact we have a folder called contract, and inside that we have this 2 JSON file, but we want this last FunToken JSON file which contain the ABI of our smart contract. So simply drag and drop in our constant file, move here, and here we have this ABI which is in the JSON format, and you can able to look everything. So all the things which we have defined, that's all is here. Okay, you can scroll and you can check everything from your end. Okay, so you can see the entire variable we have defined, that's here in this ABI. And first what we have to do is, here in the constant.js we have to import our constant file. So we have to import it. Okay, so import, and we'll call it, let's say let's call it FunToken, and that's coming from our same directory / this is the JSON file, this is our ABI. And now we have to export the FunToken. Okay, so we'll take another variable const and we'll call it fun address, and this address we have to pass here. So this is the address of our smart contract, and that's what we have to pass here. So simply paste here as a string. So here we have the address of the contract. Now we have to export the another variable, and this will call FunToken ABI, and this ABI is coming from FunToken. Okay, let's come here. We have forgot to add the E, FunToken.ABI, and this ABI we have here. So this is the ABI we have, and that's what we are importing here and exporting. Okay, so what we have done, we have imported the ABI, we have this FunToken address, we have this ABI, and that's what we are exporting from here. Okay, so that's what we have done. So let's close this one. So we are done with the smart contract. Now let's move ahead in this project. So open up this index.js, and this is the starting point. And we have to import couple of things from React. So first one is going to be use state, and we have another use effect and use context. Now we have to, let's say, import the web3 model from coming from Web3, and we have to import Ether.js, and that's come from Ether.js. Now we have to do couple of internal import. Let's remove this command. Okay, so we have to import the address and the ABI of the smart contract. In the constant, we have this token address and FunToken API. So we'll copy this and come back and simply pass here. We have to, and this is coming from the dot dot context and constants. We also have to get the FunToken ABI, and these are the two things we have. Simply remove this one, and we have to export const, and we'll call it, so let's call it ERC20 ICO context, because we are using React context for the data management. Okay, and this is coming from react.createContext. We have to export this one more const, and we'll call ERC20 provider, and in this we have to pass the children, and it's gonna be an arrow function, and we have to return this. So here we have that ERC20, so ERC20 ICO context, that's what we're going to use here as a provider, ERC20.provider, and inside that we're going to pass the children, and here we have to pass the value. So whatever data will pass inside this value, that would be available in our entire application. So if you have watched my other projects, so these things are not new to you. Okay, so this is our context provider, everything's look good, and this is the general setup. So let's come here, let's take our variables, and let's test whatever we have done so far, whether it's working or not. Okay, so let's take a variable, let's call it FunToken, and let's call it hey subscribe to my channel. So if you haven't done so, please do that. That will motivate me a lot to come up with this project video. Okay, so here I will pass that value FunToken, and this variable is available to us in throughout this entire application. Okay, so now let's come here, go to this pages app, and here we have to do the setups so we can utilize that context API. So first thing we have to do is to import, we have to convert this. I guess I have done the changes in the app.js. Okay, not a problem, let's do it and convert this into arrow functions. And let's remove this one, and let's instantly return this, remove this one, and simply cut this and paste inside this. We don't need to have this return. And here we have to import that our context provider. Okay, import, and let's come here, and this is ERC20 provider we need to pass in here, and that's coming from the dot context FunToken. And now we have to run our entire application with this provider. So bring this down, and we have to call our provider, and inside that we're going to pass this component pages. Okay, props. So this is how we have to do the setups. Now we have also need to import the NavBar, which is going to be there in the all the pages, although we have only one pages, but I'm importing my NavBar here. So NavBar, and this is coming from dot component NavBar. So this is the setup we have to do in our app.js. Okay, initial setup we have to do. So let's come here, and here what I have noticed that by mistakes I have written this code, this FunToken code in our index file. So simply select this and remove this to our FunToken. Okay, so this is the file. Now simply select this all, and we need to remove this to FunToken.js, not index.js. Okay, so we have to make these changes. Simply select all, cut, and paste here in FunToken Js. Everything's looking good, and let's see, everything's looking good. Now here we have to do the changes. We have to provide the right path. So dot which have inside the constant. Okay, from where we are getting the FunToken address and ABI. So this looks perfect. Now this is the app.js, and let's change this as well, context, and coming from FunToken. So this is our app.js. Close this one, and This one is also working fine. Now come back to our index.js and let's start working on it. Let's type rafc, change this. Let's import a couple of things from React first. So this would be use state and use effect and use context. And let's change this to home. And let's come here, import images from Next.js. And we have to do a couple of internal imports. So this is going to be import. And we have to import this ERC20 token ICO context, which contain all the data will pass inside the value. Okay, let's come here and receive it here and from, and this is coming from context FunToken. So here we have our context provider, and now we're going to use context. So const inside the bracket we have to pass the value, so this FunToken here, and that's coming from, we have to use context, and in that this we have to pass that ERC20 token ICO context, which contain all the data. So in this way we can easily able to access the data here. So that's working fine. Now everything's working fine, look good. We are passing the data here. Now let's come here, copy the data and replace this with home, and now we can easily able to display the data in our front-end app. So save it, open up your terminal, and now close everything, and let's start the application. Type npm run dev, click here on 3000, and you can see here, hey, subscribe to my channel. So we can easily able to work, so we can easily able to access the data with our context API. So everything's looking fine, you can see this. So once again do so, that will motivate me a lot. So working fine. Now let's clear that. So this is our index folder is working fine. Now let's come back to FunToken Js and simply close that. So let's write all the logics for our smart contract connections, getting data of the user, making the transactions, and then we'll move to the front end app. So here we are in FunToken Js. Let's start working on our project. So what we have to do first, this is our context API. Let's first simply fetch our contract. So we'll take a variable and we'll call it fetch contract, and inside this we're going to pass the signer or provider. Okay, it's gonna be an arrow function, and we're going to use the ether.js package to communicate with our smart contract. So we'll type ether new ether dot contract, and inside that we're going to pass the address, contract address, and contract API, and the signer or provider, whoever will be communicating with our smart contract, calling any functions, that would going to be the signer or provider. Okay, so this is how we are fetching our smart contract. Now let's come here and let's take a couple of state variables. Okay, so let's give this comment. This would be a user account. So we'll take a state variable, and this will call holder array. This will hold the data of entire user. Now we'll take another use state. This will call account. Another one we'll take, and this will call account balance string. And we'll take another one. This will be the user ID. This would be a string. So the current user who will interact, the user who will communicate with our smart contract, we have to take the ID as well. Now we have to take one more, token information. Now we have to get all the information about the token from the smart contract and store it in our state variable. So this will call number of token string. We'll take another one. This will call total number token name string, and we'll take another one. This will call token standard string, and we'll take another one. This would be called token symbol string, and this will call token honor, and we have to take one more. This will call token honor balance, and So these are the token information variables. So these are the user, these are the token information. Okay, now let's come here. Let me give the comments, and now let's try to communicate with our smart contract. Okay, so connecting wallet to application. So we'll create a function for that. So let's call it let's check connection, and it's gonna be a async function. We'll use this try and catch. So we have to get the error message if anything's wrong goes in our application. So we have to get that error message, and we want to console log it that. Okay, so we'll say something app is not connected. Okay, and here we have to check for the account. And with this if statement, we're going to check whether that user who tried to communicate with our applications has MetaMask installed in their browser or not. So that's the check we're going to do with this if statement. So we'll take that window.ethereum return, and we have to type the message console. So install MetaMask. So if the person who tried to communicate with our smart contract or with our application, if it doesn't have the MetaMask installed in the browser, we want to display this error message: install MetaMask. And the reason, and you might be thinking that from where we are getting this window.ethereum. So when a user, and you might be thinking from where we are getting this window.ethereum. So when you install MetaMask in the browser, MetaMask will inject Ethereum object in the browser, and that object we are trying to access. And with that access, we are trying to find out whether that MetaMask exists or not. Okay. And if you want to check that how the object would look like, you can watch my other project like voting contract and Web3 models. So there are a couple of projects which I will link, and you can watch where I have explained the complete object of that with getting injected by the Ethereum MetaMask. Okay, so we had checking successfully if there is an account MetaMask. We have to get the first account. So window.ethereum, we have to request for the account, and we have to call this method, and the method we want to call is eth dash accounts. This will give the account array. So this will give the array of accounts, but we want to get the first account. So we'll use this set account, and we'll call this accounts and get the first account, because the object, it will return the Ethereum request will give us the accounts array, and in that we are taking the first account. That's why we are giving this 0. So this is how we are getting the account. And now here we have to make the connection with our smart contract, because whenever the user will connect with our application, we want to display certain information on the front end app, like total token supply, number of transactions, all the data we want to display. Okay, so for that we have to communicate with our smart contract. Okay, connecting to contract and fetch data. So first we're going to use this window web3 model, and we new web3 model which we have already installed, and we have to make that connection which use await. We'll use the web3 model dot connection, not connection, connect. And this web3 model has this connect function. Okay, from there I'm getting this. So we have the connection. Now we have to get the provider. So we'll call it new ether dot providers dot web3 provider, and in that we have to pass the connection. And now we have to get the signer, and provider dot get signer, and here we have to communicate with our contract. So contract will, so here we have this fetch contract ERC20 token. Okay, that function we're going to call. Come here and simply paste, and we have to pass the signer. Okay, so this is, we have done nothing here. So this is the general setup we are doing for communicating with our smart contract. We are using Web3 model and Ether.js to make the connection with the smart contract. And now we have the contract. So now let's get the data from it. So let's get all token holders. So we'll take this variable all token holder, and we have to await. We have to call the contract, and we have a function in the contract. So let's open the contract, and inside this we have this functions. So let's come up here. So we have this balance of, which keep the track of all the account holder, all the accounts which contain token. So we're going to call this functions, and the reason why we are able to call this function, and we have not created any separate function for getting data from this mapping, because we have used this public keyword. Okay, if you don't have this public keyword, then you have to create a separate function for calling the data from this balance of. But because of this public, we can able to call this function. Now let's copy and call this in, and inside this we're going to pass the address of the contract owner. In this we have to pass the address of the first account, whoever will try to communicate with our smart contract, and zero address. And once we get the data, we have to set the data to set account balance to, let's say, all token holder, and we want to convert this, because the data will receive, it will come in the form of big number, and we want to convert this to a normal number. So that's why we have to use this to number function on it. So this is, we get the balance, number of token, and account hold. Now let's create one more variable, so total holders, and we have to await, we have to call our smart contract, and let's come back to our this, and this id keep the track of that how many token holders we have. Okay, so let's simply call that functions, and in that we don't need to pass any argument, because it will give the number of the token holders, and we have to set that to let's say token holder to convert it. So this is our get data function. We are trying to communicate with our smart contract, and let's close this one and simply copy this, and this function we're going to call in our index page, in our home page. So simply copy this function and paste here. So once we pass here, we can easily able to receive wherever we want in our application. Okay, so this is the first function. Now let's write the second function, and this will call ERC20 token contract. Okay, we'll call this ERC20 token FunToken, and it's gonna be async functions, arrow, try and catch. We have to write the error message to something like error in ERC20 token, and let's try to make the connection with our smart contract. So this is the general convention we have to follow whenever we want to make connection with our smart contract. So this is the normal code we have to write. So simply copy this one, and we have to paste here in this function as well. So let's give the comment. Now we have the connection, and now let's come here, go to this constant, and here we're going to fetch data about our ERC20 token. And for getting the data, we need the address of the account holder. Okay, we need the address of the account. Okay, the account who deployed the smart contract, not the contract address, but we need the account address. So to get that address, what we can do, open up your terminal and simply clear your terminal, and we have to rerun this node. Okay, simply clear it and type npm run. So npm run npx hard node, and hit enter. So it will give couple of accounts, so just wait. So here we have all the accounts of hard, and the very first account we have used for deploying our smart contract, which contain all the information about the token and the token itself. So we're going to copy the very first account, this account. Okay, this is the owner of the account. Now let's come back, and that's what we're going to pass here inside the get signer. So in this way we have our signer, and here we are passing, and now we can able to fetch all the data. So we'll take this command token supply, we'll take a variable called supply, await contract, and we have to call the functions total supply. Now we have to take another variable, this will call total supply, and now we have a supply, and this supply will give us big number, so we have to convert that to a normal number. and we have to set that number of token. So this is the total number of token. Now let's come down, let's get the token name. We have to call it name, we have to wait, contract, and the name functions. And once we have the name, we have to set the token name. Come down, we have to take a, let me this comment, count token and symbol. So we'll take a const symbol, await, contract dot symbol, and we have to set the symbol to set token symbol. So I believe that you guys are getting familiar, so I'm going a little faster. Okay, now let's come down, let's get the token standard. We'll take a variable standard, await, contract, and standard functions. And now we have to set the standard. Okay, so let's come down, set token standard, and we have to pass this. Now let's come down, now we have to get the token owner contract. Okay, we'll take a variable called owner of contract, await, we have to call the contract, and then we have to call this functions owner of contract. We have to set the owner of contract to our state variable. Okay, so owner of contract, so owner of token, sorry. Now we have to take a owner token balance, and we'll take a variable const balance, ABA balance token await contract. And now we have to call this owner of contract, not owner of contract, we have to call contract dot balance of, and in this we have to pass the owner address. Okay, the one who deployed the contract, his address we have to pass. So we have the address here, let's copy and paste here. So we'll get the balance of this account. Now we have to set the balance to set token owner balance, and in that we have to pass the balance. Okay, so that's the information we are taking from our tokens. So let's come out, and here we have all these functions. So we have the name, we have the symbol, we have the standard, we have the total supply and the user, owner of the contract, and holder token. Okay, let's come here and let's check the spelling. I don't want to make any spelling mistakes, so let's copy spellings and just check one more time. So let's copy this one and paste here, so everything's look good. So this is our ERC20 token details, and simply we have to pass this function here, and this function we go to call inside our index page. So we are done with this, close this one. Now let's come down, and we have to take the variable called transfer token. So now we are working on the transfer function. Okay, it's gonna be an async functions. In this we'll pass address and the value, because that's what we need in our smart contract, in our transfer functions, address and the token, number of token. And arrow function, it's going to be a try and catch. Here we will pass the message something wrong while transfer token. So we're going to copy this and paste here, and now we're going to call the transfer function. So for that we have to take a variable called transfer await contract, and now we're going to call the transfer function. Let's come here and let's copy the transfer function. In this we are passing this address and value, and paste here. In this we have to pass the address, and here we have to take this big int number because we have to convert it, and then we have to pass the token value. So the reason why we have multiplying with 1, because the number we'll get from the input, it will come in the form of string, and we have to convert that string into a number. So that's why we are doing this multiplication. And here we have the transfer function. Okay, let's come down, and we have to call wait. We have to wait until the transaction get registered on the blockchains. And now once the transaction get fulfilled, we have to reload the window. Okay, window location dot wait, window location wait. Okay, we need to reload that. Now we have to pass the function here. So this is how we can able to receive the function. Now let's come down. Now let's get create other function, get token holders data. We'll take a variable called token holder data functions. It's gonna be an arrow function. We'll take this try and catch, and here we'll pass our error message, which is going to be something, let's say error, let's say something wrong in getting data. Now we have to copy this and paste here. So as you can see that this code is repetitive. So to solve this problem, what you can do, you can create a separate functions, and you're going to write down all this method in that and simply call this function inside this function and pass the signer. So you can able to minimize the code, but I will go in this approach. Okay, so let's come down and now take a variable called all token holder. We have to say await contract, and we have to call this function. So let's come back to our contract and simply copy this function. Copy get token holder, and it will return the data. Now we have to map over it, and it's gonna be a async function lm, and we want to simply take a variable called single holder data await and contract, and then we have to call this function get holder data. Inside that we have to call this address elm. So in this function we are passing the address and we are returning the data. So let's come down. Once we have the data, we need to push that data into the holder array. We'll simply pass that, and let's console log out the entire data holder array. So we have the data. Simply copy the functions and paste here. So these are the function we have. Okay, so that's look good. Let's close this one as well. So we are done with all the function which we need to communicate with our smart contract, doing the transfer of token. Now let's do one thing, simply copy this all state variable and pass, because these are the data we have to pass in our index space so we can display the data, account, number of token, name of the token. So let's quickly pass those all variables. Copy and paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy name, paste, token owner, and the final one is token owner balance. We have one more. So these are the data, and these are the function, and this is the demo data. So let's remove this one, and let's remove this as well. Now let's save it. So we have all the data, we have all the functions. Okay, everything's look good. So here we have the variables, functions. So everything's looking good, and we are done with this FunToken Js file. So all the code we have written for this file. Now let's come to close this one, and let's close this as well. Let's open this one, go to this index file, and here we're going to receive all those data, and we're going to create our applications. So let's remove this one because we no longer have this data, and simply paste all the data here. So what we have done, we have copy all the data from our FunToken JSONs, the data we are passing, and that's all we are receiving here, and simply remove this one. So we have all these data available in our index file. Now let's come here, and we have to take a use state, because there are few functions we're going to call every time someone will reload the browser. Okay, so the function we want to call is so let's come here. We have to call this function check connection, and we have to call this function as well, because we want to display the data, token holder data, number of transaction happen. Okay, so these are the two functions we're going to call initially, and empty array. And here we're going to type home. So let's save it. So let's open this one and simply delete this artifact, delete this, escape, and delete this permanently. Delete this one as well. And let's close this one, open up your terminal, and let's redeploy the smart contract. So Let's stop this and let's start once again. Okay, npm hard node. So here it's running fine. So this is working fine. Now let's deploy the smart contract to our local host. The same script you have to run. So compile successfully, and here we have the artifact, and here we have the contract address and the transaction address. So as you can see, this is the address of the account which used to deploy the contract. So this one is working fine. Now let's come here, go to this artifact contract, and we have to drag and drop here. Okay, so let's delete this one. Let's come here, delete this one, the previous one, and this one is the fresh one. Let's drag and drop here. So this is our artifact and ABI of the smart contract. Let's close all the files. Now let's start the application. So type npm run dev and simply click on this 3000 and let's close. Here you can see the MetaMask is open. That means our check connection function is working fine. And here we are logged into the application. Go to the spec element console, and here you can see we have this object. Here we have the objects. Click on this, and here you can see we are getting an error. So let's come here in MetaMask, and you can see app is not connected, so we have some problem in the connection. Let's come here and got it. And here you can see the number of token is displaying because my previous contract is already connected with this MetaMask. So that's why we can able to see the number of token in my MetaMask. So reload the page and let's click one more time. So here we have the token. Let's come here and let's go to the account number 3rd. So account number 3rd is connected with this. So we have 0. Now let's come here. Let's come back to account number 1. And now we are connected with this FunToken. Okay. Now everything's looking good. And here you can see on the right hand side, the home message is also displaying. So everything's looking fine. So if you find that you get any kind of error after deploying the smart contract, in my case I got an error, so what I did, I restarted my application and there is no more error. So whenever you have any kind of problems while connecting with the smart contract, make sure you restart the applications and do the reset in the MetaMask. Okay, so everything's working fine. Let's bring the terminal down, and now we can start working on the JSX part of our applications. So let's close this one, and here we have ERC20 token. Let's call this function as well, because this will give the data of our token. Okay, so here we have to call 3 function whenever someone reload the browser. Now let's work on the JSX part. We'll take a div. It will have a class called style, but we have to import the CSS file. So let's come here, go to the style, and let's delete this one, and let's create the CSS file for the index. Okay, so index.modules.css. So this is the CSS file for this index page. Now we have to import that. Let's close this one as well. So import style coming from /style / index, and let's come down. We have to take a div. It will have a class called style.hero section, and inside that we'll take a h1. It will have a class called style. So let's remove this one. Let's take a div. It will have a class style.hero section left. In this we'll take a h1, and we'll take launching fun token. In this we'll type fun, and we'll give the name of the token ERC20 token. Okay, we have to take the paragraph. So we're going to take this lorem, a demi text. Okay, now we'll come down, we'll take another div. It will have a class called style hero section left bdn, and inside that we're going to take the button. It will have a class called style btn, and it will call white paper. We'll take one more button. It will have a class called style dot btn, and we'll call product intro. Now let's come down. We'll take another div. It will have a class called style dot hero section right. It will have a image, and here we have to give the source. Let's take the alt. It will call banner. Now we have to take the width is going to be 300 and height is going to be 300 for the images. Actually we don't have the images, so let's come here and let me get the images. So let's come here. We have inside this folder this FunToken, and here we have the asset. So let's come here, simply drag and drop here in the main directory, copy folder. Inside this we have the images. As you can see, all the images we are using in this project we have here. This is our loader. So we have all the images, and now we're going to use this images in our index.js file. So let's come here, let's import the images. So let's come up here and let's say import. First thing we want to import is the banner, and that's coming from dot slash assets, and here we have the home banner png. Copy and simply paste here. So let's close this one. Now restart the application, and you can see everything's working fine. We have launching, FunToken, the paragraph, the buttons, and the images. And actually I don't want to display this images. Okay, now let's come back to our code editor, and we have to change the images. So let's come here and import the other image. So import funny token, and that's coming from the same assets, and this is the token we want to display. Copy and simply paste here and change this one as well. Reload the browser, and here we have the token image. So this one is working fine. And let's duplicate this couple of times because we want to display couple of more images. So the same image we will display but in a smaller size, like the way we have in the design. And here we're going to do the changes in the width 3 2, and this will call 50, this will call 20. Save it, and this is how it will look. Okay, this is how it's looking right this moment, but don't worry, when we style it, it will look much better. Now this looks pretty good. Now let's come down, and here we have to display the transaction component. Okay, transfer component, and here we have to display the user component. So in this transfer component we're going to display the data of the token along with the transfer functions, and in the user will display the latest transactions happening in this website of the tokens. Okay, so these are the two components we have. So in this, let's come up here, and we have to import this component. So import transfer from, and that's coming from the component transfer. We have to import the user from dot slash component user/user. So these are the two components we have. Now what we can do, so let's come up here and let's send the props, all the data. So number of token we have to send as a props. Let's come here, token name we have to send. Now we have to send this token standard. Let's come up here. Now we have to send the token symbol. Let's and we have to send this token or unbalance. So these are the props we are sending in the token transfer. And let's come here, we have to send this function as well to transfer token. So these are the couple of props we are sending. Now in the user section we have to send that holder array. We don't have that, so let's come here, go to this context FunToken, and here we have that let's say holder array. That's what we have to pass here, and that's what we have to receive in the index. So simply paste here, and that's what we're going to receive as a prop in the user component. So simply paste here. So we can display the latest transactions of the token. So these are the couple of props we are sending in both the component transfer and the user. So they are done. This was also looking good. This one is looking good, and all the things are looking absolutely perfect. Now let's come here, let's reload the browser, and we are getting some sort of errors. So this is style sheet. Okay, we have to change this to only style. Now let's save it, come here, still we are getting this error. Okay, let's come here, and the error we are getting because we have imported this transfer component and the user component, but we haven't exported those component. So let's quickly do that. Type RAFC. So this is how it will look. Now do the same thing for the user, and now we'll don't have an error. Reload the browser and everything's looking fine. You can see the transfer and token. So let's close this one, and let's assign a class to the images. Okay, so image 1, and the other image will have a different class, so we don't need to provide this one, only images. Okay, copy this and paste in all the images. Paste here, and save it. So only first image will have this like hero section right image 1, because we want to apply different styling for that, and the other image will have a different styling. So this is for the images. Things are looking good. Let's close this one, like index, and let's come here, close all this file, go to the component and transfer, and let's start working on the transfer function. So first thing we have to do is to import couple of things from React, use state, and we have to import the images from Next.js. We have to do a couple of internal import, so import style, and that's coming from the same folder. So dot transfer. Okay, and now we have to do the get the image of the token. So that's coming from /assets FunToken PNG. Now let's receive all the props we have sent in the index. Okay, so let's come here in the index file. So all those props we have to receive in our transfer. So paste here, come back, copy this one, paste here, copy this one, paste here, and simply copy this one symbol and simply paste here. Now we have to receive this honor balance and simply paste here, and come back, and we have to receive this function transfer token. So these are the props we are receiving in the transfer component. Let's come to the index page, and let's come here in the transfer, and now let's start working on the JSX part. So we'll take a div, it will have a class and it will have a style dot transfer. Why this color is different? Okay, we'll check that later. Let's take a div, it will have a class called style, and this color is different. Don't need to worry. Let's working on the JSX. So transfer box, inside that we'll take a div, it will have a class called style dot transfer dash box dash left section of the component, and in that we have to take a h2 token analytics. Below we'll take a div, it will have a class style transfer box left box. Inside that we'll have a p tag, it will call token name, and in that we'll take a span. This will contain the token name. Okay, the data we'll get from the contract. Now we'll take another p tag, it will call token supply. In this we have to pass the number of token. We'll take another p tag, and this will call span, and in this style fun token, and in this we have to pass the image of the token which we have imported. So let's say fun. So let's come up here. So this is the token, fun token. Let's pass that, and let's assign a width and height to this. So alt will have a call symbol, and width is going to be 70% and height is going to be 70%, and object fit to cover. Okay, that looks pretty good. and let's give a title, token supply, and let's give this bracket space, sorry. Now let's come down, let's take another p tag, and this will display the number of token left in the contract. So here will have a token honor balance, because that's the honor of the token will contain all the tokens, and we're going to display his balance. So that's look good. Now let's come down, let's take another div. It will have a class called style and transfer box right. Inside that we're going to take h2 and we'll call transfer token, will come below and we'll have an input, and in that we'll have to add this placeholder address. Type is going to be, let's say, text, and we'll have a on click function, so e, and we have to call this function. So let's come up here, we have to take another use state. Okay, so let's come up here, so we'll say use state and we'll say transfer account, the account where we want to transfer the token. Okay, and we'll take another use state and it will contain the number of token we want to transfer, and it will have a number. So these are the two state variable. Let's call this function set set token number, and in that we have to pass this e dot target dot value. So let me repeat once again what I'm doing here. We are taking the two state variable, one for the number of token we want to transfer and the other one is for the address, and we are getting the data from the input, and we are using this set token number to set the data. Okay, so here we have the first input. Now let's come here, let's take another div. It will call style transfer box right btn, and in that we have to take the button. So button, it will have a on click functions. In this on click function we have to call this transfer, so what's the name, transfer token function. In that we have to pass the data, so we have to pass this function. So this is the function we are calling, and this we're going to pass the data. So the first one is going to be the transfer account, and the second one is going to be the account and token number, and we'll call it send token. So this is our button, and everything's looking good. So let's check one more time. Let's come here and we have an error, no, and let's restart the application. Let's bring this down, and things are looking good. So we have this, we are not using these values, we'll find out. So we are not using this data. Okay, let's keep it like this, and these are looking good. So we have this token name, we have this number of token, we have the token image, we have the balance left. So let's close this one and let's go back to the, let's say, user, and let's start working on this. So we going to import couple of things from React. So import image, and we do some internal import. So import style from dot, and the same folder we have this style file. We have to import the image that's coming from the assets and FunToken. Now we're going to receive the props. So the prop we are sending, let's come here, what's the name, so we are sending this holder array data, that's what we're going to receive it. So this is the prop we are receiving. Let's come here and let's start working on the JSX part. So we'll have a class called style user. Inside that we're going to take this dynamic block, we'll take the data and we're going to map over it, and we're going to instantly return that. We'll take a div and it will have a class. First we'll assign a key, and it will also have a class, and we'll call it, let's say, user dash box, and we'll have a h4. It will have a class user box name, and here we're going to display the name user, and the name we have in zero element. So the data we'll get from the smart contract, it will come in the form of array. So we are looping over it, and the very first index of that particular account of the particular array is the address. Okay, so that's what we are displaying here, and we're going to call this function toNumber because this user is an user id we have assigned to every single transaction, and it will come in the form of big number, and we are converting that big number into a normal number. And we have that user id. Now will take another div. It will have a style dot user box, and it will call price box. In this we're going to take a, let's say, paragraph, and here we're going to display the price. So it will have a class called style user price user box price. Okay, and in this we're going to display the price, so which we have inside the element number 3. We'll have to convert it into a normal number from big number, and we will call token. So that's the price section. Now let's come down below. We're going to add the style user, and it will have a status. So here we're going to display the worth, that how much money that token worth. Okay, so we'll take that. To do that, we'll take this dollar sign, and we have the number of token inside the element number 3, so we have to convert that to 3, and we have to simply multiply with that 50. Okay, so one token cost $50. So whatever the number of token we're going to multiply with this 50, so we'll get that price of that. So we have the price, and here we're going to display the total number of token which we have in element number 3, same thing, and we'll call it your token worth. Okay, that's the pricing part. Now let's come down, and here we're going to take another div. It will have a style, let's say user box image, and in that we're going to take the image and display the token. It will have a class, it will call user box image, and it will take this src, and we're going to display the token FunToken, or it will have a alt tag called FunToken, and we have to assign the width and height to this. So 35 35, that looks perfect. Okay, now we'll come down, we'll take another p tag, and we'll display the address of the account which contain this token. And the address we have in this element number 1, we have to slice it down because I don't want to display the entire address. I want to display only 22 characters, and here we're going to give some space. So that's good, looking good. So we have all this looking perfect. We are getting the data, looping over it, image, and we are displaying all the data. Let's close this one, come here, and things are looking good. Now let's start working on the NavBar. Go to the NavBar, and let's close this one, zoom a bit, and we have to import a couple of things from React. So use state, use context, and let me give this command internal import, and import style from /navbar modules. Now we have to import the what else we need to import. Let's come here, go to this FunToken, and we have to import this context. Copy and simply paste here, and that's coming from context FunToken. So this is for the data. Now let's come here, we have to import the images from Next.js, and let's come here, import loader, and that's coming from assets. We have this loader gif. We have to import the other image, which is our FunToken, and that's coming from the same assets. And this is our FunToken. So these are the couple of internal import. Now let's get the context. So use context, and in this we're going to pass that context, and here we have to receive the data. So what data we need? So we need this account, and let's come here, we need this account balance, and let's come here, and we need this user ID. So these are the couple of data we need. Do we need anything else? No, that's it. So these are the three data we need. Now let's start working on the JS part. We'll take this div, it will have a class called NavBar, and it will have another div, it will have a class called NavBar box. Inside that we're going to take another div, it will call NavBar box left, and in that we're going to display the logo, sorry, and it will have h1 tag, and here we will call FunToken. This is our logo, and in this we're going to take a paragraph token balance. So whoever will communicate with our smart contract, communicate with our application, their balance we're going to display the number of token they hold, and we will provide this space. Now we'll take a span, and here we're going to display the token balance. We'll take another div, sorry, p tag, and in this we're going to display the user ID, and the ID we have here, user ID. So this is the ID we have, and we also going to display the address of the account. Let's provide this space, and then we have the account address. So this is our NavBar. Things are looking good. Okay, looking perfect, and we are not using this. Okay, not a big deal. So let's close this one, and let's come here. Let's delete this artifact, and we have to delete this cache. We have to go to this context, and we have to delete this fun token as well. So things are looking good. Open up your terminal and simply start the hard hat node. It is started. Now let's deploy the contract. So deploy, here we have the artifacts. Now simply come here and take the ABI and drag to context. So it's working fine. Now let's restart the application. Run npm run dev and click on this. So here we are getting an error. It says that objects are not valid as a React child. Okay, we are missing the keys. So let's come back to the code, and let's go to the user. And do we have any problem here? Let's see. So this is the holder array, this is that. So let's do one thing. Close this one. Let's comment this out, and let's come and reload the browser to see what's the problem. So still have the same problem. That means we don't have the problem in that component. So array instead an object with key. If you meant to render a collection, okay, still we are getting the same array, an array instead. So let's bring that. Let's do one thing. Let's come here and let's take another variable. Let's bring inside this. So we'll take a variable called my array, and it will have a couple of array 1 2 3 4 5. So initially we don't have any data inside this holder array. So let's copy this one and replace this holder array with this. Okay, now let's reload that, and still we have the same problem. Not a big deal. So simply comment this one and copy this one and bring it back. So it's looking fine. Let's come here, and the problem is here in transaction. So finally I found the problem. So here we have the problem in our transaction file. So here we have to wrap the entire props in this bracket. Okay, we have to wrap this in the bracket. Now we don't have this problem. So let's reload the page, and here things are working fine, but still we are getting an error. Finally the error is something different. Okay, so somewhere we are not converting the big number. Okay, so we have to convert the big number. So let's come here and let's try to find where we are actually dealing with that. So do we deal in this? No, these looks fine. We are converting this in from a normal to a big number. So we don't have any problem in this. Let's select all this and let's try to rewrite it. Save it. And no problem in that. So we have an input, And by the way, we have only one input here in transfer JSX in transfer file, but actually we need two, one for the address and one for the token. Okay, so we have to do the changes here. So simply come here and copy this one, and here we have to use this set transfer function. Copy this one, and let's come down, and here we have to set this set transfer function. This is added, and this one is going to be the number, sorry, token name, token number, and that's look good. So now we have to have a two input. Make sure you do these changes. So one input going to be for the address, and the second input is going to be the number of token. Okay, the number of token they want to send. So do this changes, and here we have to provide the minimum one token they can transfer. So this is look good. This is the transfer, and that's what we are passing here, these two data. Now come back to the FunToken Js, and here we have to do a couple of changes. So let's come here and let's scroll down, and this is the problem we have. So here we have the problem. So contract balance of, here we are getting that, and here we are passing that, but we are not converting from big number to a single number. Okay, that's why we are getting this error. So let's convert it to a number. So to convert that, we have to say dot to number, call this functions, and save it and reload the browser, and we don't have this problem. And here you can see everything's working fine. Here you can see the total number of token name. We have fund token, we have total number of supply, we have the images, the token left. So everything's working fine. So we can interact with our smart contract. So token, and we have the token left. So things are looking fine, everything's working good. So make sure you do these two changes, one in the transfer file and one in this FunToken Js. So let's close this one, and with this we are done with the complete. So with this we are done with the entire JSX part, folder and file structure, all the components we have created. Now we're going to style it. Okay, so we're going to style with the NavBar first. So let's come here, let's target the NavBar, and we're going to assign a width to 70%, and it's going to have a margin 0 auto, and background is going to be linear gradient 135 degree, and we'll have this 49138C, and the second color is going to be 341477. So why we still not having this styling? Okay, so there is a problem. So let's come here, go to this global CSS, and let's apply some global styling, okay, in our global CSS file. So let's replace this, select all and remove all the pre-style, and simply paste this one. Okay, so I will provide this starter file. So I have done nothing here. All I have done, I have assigned the background color, a color for the text, and the font family. Okay, so these are the things I have done. So I'll provide this starter file for the global CSS from on my blog, on the blog $1000.com. So visit there, and from there you can get this starter file for the global CSS, and you can paste here. In this, what I'm doing, here you can see we have the changes in the background color, and here I'm using a particular font. So two different fonts I'm using. So if you want to have the same styling the way we are doing in this project, so make sure you visit to the article $1000.com, and from there you can download this global CSS file, and so you can start working on it. Okay, so here we are using Google fonts, and we are using these two fonts. So this is our global style font, and this one, and this is the two font we are using. And here we are changing the background, we have the color for the text, and this is the font family, and the rest is same. So this is how it will look. Let's close this one, and let's come back to the NavBar, and still we are getting some error. So let's come here and let's assign border radius to going to be 0.3 RAM. Padding is going to be 1 RAM. So still stylings are not applying. Why it's so? So let's come back here to the NavJSX and let's try to have a look. So let's come here and go to the API, and okay, there is the problem in app.js. So we are not adding that in our application. So we have the NavBar component. Now we have to add it. So let's copy that and simply come here and paste our NavBar component and save it. And here you can see we have the styling. It's working fine. This is the supply, the ID, everything's working fine. Now let's close that. And now let's come back to NavBar CSS and let's start working on it. So now let's come down. We're going to target the NavBar box and it will have a display grid template column 1FR, 2FR, text align center, justify content, space between. We'll target the NavBar box left, padding left 1 RAM. So this is how it will look. Let's add a media query. So and the max width is going to be 35 EM. And we're going to target the NavBar. Width is going to be 95%. And we'll target the NavBar box grid template column 1FR. So this is how it will look. Now we have to target, okay. So let's come up here and let's get the NavBar box left H1. It will have a font size 2 RAM and font family is going to be our Josephine sans serif and sans serif Google font we are using here, and text transform to skew -50 degrees. So we have this nice styling. Now let's come down, let's target the right section, okay, display flex, and gap is going to be 2 RAM. So this is how it will look. Let's come down. Now let's get the NavBar box right paragraph, and background color is going to be our 2B0C65 and padding is going to be 1 RAM. Color is going to be our, let's say, B49 to E9. So this is how it will look. Let's come down and let's get the NavBar box span, right span, sorry. And simply we're going to copy this background color and same. We have to assign the padding 0.2 RAM and font 5 RAM. Font family is going to be 600 and border radius is going to be 0.3 RAM and color is going to be completely white. So that looks perfect. Now come here and get the right box and flex direction is going to be column. So this is how it will look, and now set the gap to 0. So that looks incredible. Now let's come here, let's get the paragraph and let's assign a padding 1 RAM and 0.5 RAM. So now look good. So this is how it will look on our desktop. We have is good. So number of token, number and the address both are displaying. So things are working fine for the mobile device and for the desktop device. Now let's come here. Now let's go to this transfer component and let's start working on it. So we have this transfer, copy this one and click here and come here. So we'll say transfer box display is going to be grid, and let's zoom a bit. Okay, grid template column 2.1 FR and 1 FR, and gap is going to be 2 RAM. Say padding top is going to be 3 RAM. And why the styling is not taking place? Let's come here and let's reload the browser. Okay, so we are not working on the transfer component, we are not working on the hero component. Okay, so not a big deal. So what we have to do is let's first start working on the hero component. Okay, so let's come here and let's go to the index page, go to this index CSS module. So in this page, the index page, we go to style it, okay, first. So let's zoom out. So let's start working on this part. So let's copy this home, and that's what we're going to do in index module. So we'll target the home, and it will what else we need to provide. Let's zoom a bit, and width is going to be 70% and margin is going to be 0 auto, and we'll have to provide the hero section, display grid template column 1.3 and 1 FR, and margin, let's say block 4 RAM, gap is going to be 4 RAM, align item is going to be center. Okay, this looks good. Now let's come here and let's add a media query so we can style properly. So max width is going to be 35 em, and we're going to target the hero section, and width is going to be 95%, and hero section grid template column is going to be 1FR. So this is how it will look. Now let's come here. This looks pretty good. Now let's come here, target hero section 1, and font family is going to be our primary font, Joseph sans serif, Josephine sans serif, and font size is going to be 3 RAM, font width is going to be 400, my text transform capitalize, and line height is going to be 1.3. so this looks pretty good. Come down and we'll target the hero section, but let's come here, it's a hero section left. Okay, left. Now we can target the P. It will have a color, our second primary, so 92E9, and font size is going to be 1.2 RAM. So this looks good. Let's come down, let's target the hero section left BTN, and it will have a display flex, gap is going to be 2 RAM, and align item center, margin top is going to be 0.25 RAM. So this looks incredible. Now let's come down, let's target the button, and it will have a color, our white. It will have a font width going to be 600 and 600. Let's come here, go back to the component, and we have to copy that background image and paste here. Okay, because I'm a bit lazy to type the same code over and again, so I simply copy and paste. Border is going to be none, and padding is going to be 1 RAM, 2 RAM, border radius is going to be 2 RAM, outline is going to be none. So this looks perfect. And we have to add the box shadow 0, 6 pixels, 10 pixels, and RGB is going to be a 0, 0, 0 divided by 10%. So that what we provide. Cursor pointer and transaction or point, easy in and out, and font family is going to be our primary font. Copy and simply paste here. That's look good. Let's come down, let's get the hero left, it's gonna be a right. Okay, image 1, so the first image we have to target, and we'll say border radius 50%, and the other image is going to be border radius 50%. So save it. Now you can see we have this nice circle, but why these images are looking weird, why they are in all similar size, height, sorry. So there is a problem in the images. So okay, things are looking good in the code, but let's come here and click on this, go back to the index page, index JSX. Let's zoom out, let's go here in index page, and here we have to see in the image. Okay, there is a problem in the images, so we have changed the width but we haven't changed the height. Okay, so let's do the changes in the height. So this will become 2, this will become 100, this will become 50, and the last one is become, let's say, 20. So now it's looking perfect. We have this perfect styling, exactly like a demo one. Okay, now we can continue styling this portion. So let's come here and in our media query, and we have to target the left sections. Padding is going to be 1 RAM, and for the right section we have to assign a padding. Okay, 1 RAM. So save it. Now it's look pretty much good. So this section looks absolutely perfect. So we are done with this index styling. Let's cut this. This is how it will look on a desktop. This is the hero section, images, balance, everything's looking good. Let's cut this one. Now come here and let's start styling the, close this one. Let's have a final look. Okay, we have to work on the transfer. And here we are. Let's go to this CSS file and let's keep working on it. So we'll target the transfer box left section, and what we have to get this background color, because I'm very lazy to type once again. Let's come down, let's assign a padding 1 RAM, and border radius is going to be 0.5 RAM. Line height is going to be 0, and border shadow is going to be 0, 6 pixels, 10 pixels. RGB, it's going to be a 0, 0, 0 divided by 10%. So this is our box shadow. So why the stylings are not taking place? Again, we have done some sort of mistakes. So we have this styling. Let's comment this. It's okay. There is a problem. Okay. Stylings are not taking place. So let's come here to the transaction JSX file and let's have a look. So we have this style in blue tag. Why it's so? Okay, here is the problem. So we are not importing the CSS file. So simply remove this one completely and import it. Import style, and that's coming from our same file dot slash transfer module CSS. Now the styling will take place. Save it, and here you can see we have the styling. Actually, we have imported the wrong file. That's why we were getting that error and no styling were taking place. So now it's working fine. Now we can keep working on it. Okay. So this is the transfer section we have. Let's come down and let's take a media query first. So max width is going to be, let's say, 35 em, and let's get this transfer box, and we have to assign a grid template column 1FR. So that looks incredible. Now we can start styling this portion. So let's come here, let's target the box left H2, and font family is going to be our primary font, Josephine Sans with a capital S serif, and font size is going to be 2 RAM. Why the font is not changing? Maybe I have written the wrong spelling. So let's come here and copy it, copy this and paste here. Yeah, the spelling was wrong. Let's come down, target the box left box, and display is going to be flex, gap is going to be 1 RAM, align item center. Let's come down, let's target the box left box par P, and padding is going to be 1.5 RAM. Box with border radius is going to be 2 RAM. Background color is going to be H2B0C65, and font family is going to be the same, and font size is going to be 1 RAM, and box shadow is going to be, we have already used a copy and simply paste here. So this is how it will look. As you can see, it's looking perfect. Now let's come down. This is how it look. Now let's target that transfer box left span, and display is going to be block, margin top is going to be 2 RAM, and let's copy this color and paste here background color. Padding is going to be 1.5 RAM and 1 RAM. Font size is going to be 0.9 RAM, that is smaller, and border radius is going to be 0.2 RAM. So this looks incredible. Okay, now let's target the FunToken image, and let's say border radius is going to be 50%, so it will be look circle. Okay, copy this and let's come here. Actually, we haven't assigned that class to the image, so let's come here and simply add the class style.FunTokenImage and save it. Now it's fine. You can see we have a circle. Now let's come down here back to CSS and let's work on the right hand side. So let me give this comment right, and let's target the right box. We'll add the same background color. Okay, we'll add a padding 1 RAM. We'll add a border radius 0.5 RAM, and line height is going to be 0. Copy the box shadow and paste here. So it's look good. Now let's target the box right h2, and we have to apply the same styling. Copy this font family, and font size is going to be 2 RAM. Let's come down and we have to get this input. Width is going to be 100%. Background color is going to be, let's say, 2B0C65, and border is 0. Outline is going to be none. Padding is going to be, let's say, 1 RAM. Border radius is going to be 0.3 RAM, and margin top is going to be 1 RAM. Color is going to be completely white, so it looks pretty good. You can see that input box is looking good. Now let's come down. We have to target that input placeholder, and we have to change the color of that, so make it completely white. And the font family is going to be the same primary font. Copy and simply paste it. And let's come down. We have to get the right btn, okay, and we have to say align item center. Padding is going to be 1 RAM. Transfer box, target the beat button itself, and border background color is going to be this, and border is going to be 0. Padding 1.5 RAM and 3 RAM from left and right. Border radius is going to be 0.5 RAM, and cursor is going to be the pointer, and color is going to be white, and font family is going to be our primary font. Okay, this looks incredible. Copy this box shadow. We have to apply this as well, and let's come down. You can see it's look beautiful. Our buttons looks beautiful. Everything's working fine. Now let's come back to the media query and let's work on that. We'll target the box left box, and display is going to be grid template column repeat to 1FR. Save it, and you can see right now it's looking good. We have this for 2 columns, and 1 column contain 1 paragraph, and we are displaying the data. So we have this one image, everything's looking good. So this section is looking beautiful. So we are done with this component, this section. Simply close this one, and you guys see that it's look beautiful. Okay, so let's make it big, and this is our NavBar. We're displaying the balance. Currently we are connected with the token account holder, so currently we are connected with the main account, which contain all the tokens. So you can see number of token, you can see the number of account address, but the user ID is 0 because we are not assigning any ID to the owner of the contract. And here we have the message, we have this token image, and here we have the transfer functions. We're displaying the name of the token, we are displaying the total supply, token symbols, and token left currently. And here we have the tokens transfer function with address, token number, and send token. So things are looking good. Now let's come here, go back to this, close all this one, go back to the component, and let's close this one, and we have to work on the user section. But currently we don't have any data for the user to display. So for this, what we can do, so we don't have any data, that's why you can see there is no rendering. So here we have this, here we have the data for which we are getting from the contract. Let's comment this out, okay, and let's simply duplicate it. So comment out this and duplicate it here, and simply change this one, remove this part, because we don't have the data. So we can start with the demo text. So I don't want to replace, delete that and then write again. That's why I have duplicated this one, and simply remove this one, remove this, and do this to all these data, dynamic data. This for token, delete all this one, and open this array. So here we have the demo array we are taking, and we have to loop over this. So copy and simply paste here, holder array, reload that. So we are getting an error. Okay, so we are getting here error in the slice, so simply remove it. Okay, so we have this slice. Now we can simply remove this. So select all this one, copy, duplicate this one, and remove this one, and comment out simply this one. And right now you can see we don't have an array, and here we can see that our rendering is working fine. So this is the rendering we have. So because all So in our demo array, we have total 5 array. So that's why we are displaying 5 component. And now we can start styling it. Okay, so let's come to the user model style component and let's start working on it. So here we have, now let's target the user. It will have a padding called block for RAM, so we'll have some space from top and bottom. Now display is going to be grid, and grid template repeat will have 3 1FR. So, and let's get the gap is going to be 1.3 RAM. Save it. This is how it will look. Let's add a media query. So max width is going to be, let's say, 35 em, and user and grid template column is going to be 1FR for the mobile device. So this is how it will look. Now let's come here. Let's get the user box and come back here. Here we are assigning it the background color and paste here. Come and get the box. I think we need to have a box shadow as well. Let's come back here and let's get the box shadow 0, 6 pixels, 10 pixels, RGB 000 slash divide by 10%. Padding is going to be 1 RAM. Border radius is going to be 0.5 RAM. Line height is going to be 0. So this looks perfect. Now let's come down. We'll take a user box name and copy this font, primary font, paste here, and font size is going to be 1.4 RAM. Line height is going to be 0. Let's come down. We'll get the user box price box and it will have text align center. We'll get the user box price itself. We'll add a padding is going to be 3 RAM and 1 RAM. It will have a background color to our second primary. So now let's assign a border radius is going to be 0.5 RAM, and let's come here, copy the font family and paste here. So this is how it will look. Let's add a font size is going to be 2.5 RAM, little bigger, and copy the box shadow and simply paste here. So this looks pretty good. So this is the price section. Now let's come down. We'll target the user box status and line it is going to be 0. It will have a, let's say, margin top is going to be minus 1.3 RAM, so it will go a little up. We'll have a margin bottom 3 RAM, and font width is going to be 300. Color is going to be our second primary for the text. Let's come down. We'll take the user box image and display is going to be flex, and align item is going to be center, and gap is going to be 1 RAM. Okay, now we have to get the image itself. So image border radius is going to be, let's say, 50%, so it will be look circle. Okay, let's copy that and paste here. So this looks pretty good already. So we are done with this card component. This looks incredible in the mobile phone. So right now we don't have any data, so you can see this is how it look. Okay, that looks perfect. So let's close this and close this one and close this file and come here, and now we have to simply uncomment this and remove this one. So we are getting this error, no problem. We have to simply select this portion till here, and we have to replace it, and we have to uncomment this component. And we don't have the data, so still we are getting the error. Why so? So what says, okay, we have it here, and here we have to change this to holder array. Replace this one and comment this portion. Replace the bra, and now everything is working fine. You can see everything is working as it is, so there is no error in our application. So things are looking good. Okay, So finally, we have completed our entire project. We have written the smart contract, we have written the JSX, we have built the logic for the backend, we are designed beautiful front-end application. Now it's time to do the testings, to test our application whether it's working or not. Okay. So first thing we have to do is to delete this artifact. Okay, we're going to redeploy this contract. Skip, permanent delete, and now we have to delete this cache, delete this one, and come here, delete this one, ABI as well. Now open up the terminal and stop the applications from running, close it all, and we have to close this portion as well. And now let's run this npx node hardhat node. So here we have initialized the hardhat in our console. It's working fine. Now let's deploy the contract, hit enter, and just wait. So we have successfully deployed the smart contract. You can see the address, and here we got the artifact and the caches. Simply come here, go to the contract and drag and drop the ABI into the constant, move it. Now start the application. npm run dev, click on this 3000 to open in the browser, and here it's working fine. So just wait, you can see, just wait. And here we can able to see the data because we are already logged into our applications, and we can easily able to fetch all the data. It looks absolutely incredible. Now we have the address, we have the total supplies, everything. Let's click on this MetaMask, and just you can see, let's click here and simply log out from this application and reload the browser. So here you can see the pop-up is open, and right now we don't have any data. You can see the total number of balance is empty, the account is empty because we're not logged into the MetaMask. Okay, so now let's come here. MetaMask is open. We can simply enter our credentials, so type the password and hit unlock, and here we are logging the application. Simply reload the page, and boom, here we have the total balance, to account, address, and all the address, everything's displaying. We can able to fetch the data from our contract. Let's come back to the MetaMask, and you can see right now we have this 1 million token in this account number 2 because this is the account we have used for deploying the contract. So right now I have already imported the token, that's why you can able to see that. But if you don't get that options, so let's come here and let's do this. I'll go to the advanced and let's click on this reset first, and you can see still we have the account total number of token. So to import, all you have to do to click here, and simply you can see this contract which is already there, and we have already imported that. That's why you can see this error message. Okay, we have imported that. So let's come back to our terminal, our code editor, and let's get an account from here. So here we have this hardhat, and we have couple of accounts here. So we're going to pick one account from here. So you can see the same address we have here in this. Same address we have here as well, the token name and the token index. So working fine. So let's come here. This account also has a 0. Let's reload the page, and let's come here, go back to the terminal, and let's copy one account. Let's import one account. Copy this account number 19, and let me show you how you can import account in MetaMask. So come here, open the MetaMask, and click here, click on this import account and paste the a private key and import. And here you can see we have an option called import a token. So click on this, and here we have to pass the token address, contract address, and this is the name, and we have to give a 0 add. So right now this account has no balance, so we're going to click on import token, and you can see we have imported the token. So if we get any token, our fund token in this account, will that number will display here in the fund token. So currently we have 0 balance, that's why it's displaying 0. So let's come here and let's copy this account number 4, and we go to send some token to this account number 4. Okay, so let's come here, go to the account number 2, reload the browser. Before we do that, we have to do this advance, because if you don't do that, and when you switch from one account to the another account, you will get an error. So always make sure whenever you switch the account, you have to do this reset, otherwise your transaction will get failed. So reset, and we have reset that one. Let's come here, reload the browser, and let's do the transfer. So simply paste the account, and the number of token we want to transfer is, let's say, 345 token we want to send. Let's click on send token. Here we have our MetaMask pop-up. Here we are communicating with our smart contract. Just wait, MetaMask is taking a little bit time. Here we are communicating with our smart contract. You can see account number 2 to account number 4, and we are calling this transfer functions. And here we have the gas. Currently we are not charging any amount for doing the transfer, so that's why you can see the zero balance, and the gas we are paying. So let's come here, click on confirm, and boom, nothing happened. Why? We are getting, simply reload the browser, and let's do inspect element. Okay, do inspect element, come here and go to this. So right now we don't have it because we have reloaded the browser. Let's bring it this way, and let's do the transfer one more time. So simply paste the address and do the transfer. Let's say 345 MetaMask here, and just wait, and simply wait, and let's click on confirm. And okay, here we're getting an error. And this error is related to the chain ID. You can see chain ID. We have to provide the chain ID configuration in our hard hat or in our MetaMask. So simply copy this and open up your, go back to the hard hat config file, and here we have to do the configurations. Okay, so let's bring the terminal down, and we have to define the network. So networks is going to be, let's say, hard hat, and in that we have to define the chain ID, and the chain ID is this one, 31337. okay, so this is the configuration we have to do in our hard hat config file. And now let's open the MetaMask and go to this. As you can see, the transaction is failed. Click on this, actually click on this networks, and from here you can type, hit on add network, and here we are, and go to the networks, and you can see here we have all the networks. So we have Robson test network, Rinky Buy, Gorilla, Covintex network. Okay, so here we have to do the changes. So in chain ID we have to type the chain ID, actual chain ID, which we are using in the project. And now we have to click on save and click here, cut, and now it will work. Reload the browser, just wait. Now we can do the transfer. Okay, so now we can able to do the transfer. So let's reload the browser, and let's come back, go to the MetaMask, and we have to take the address. Okay, so the address where we want to transfer the token is, so right now you can see once we did the changes, everything's removed from our MetaMask, all the historic data. So we have to import the tokens. Okay, so let's click here, and we have to give the name of the contract address. As you can see, FunToken, we have to assign 0, and import token. So currently this account hold 1 million token. So we have the token here. Now let's do that for all the accounts. So let's do in the account number 1, import, and FunToken, and 0. It has 0 account, 0 token. Now let's do that for other accounts. Account number 3, assets, import, account 0, and let's say add import. It has 0 as well. Now copy this address, and now we have to do the resets. Go to the settings, advanced, reset, and now let's send some token to account number 3. So let's reload the browser and paste the account number 3, and we want to send 453 tokens. You can send any token, you have a lot of token. So let's click on send token, and here we are. Just wait, click on confirm, and just wait. Do the inspect element, console log. So let's come here, go to this console, and the transaction is successful. We don't have an error. Let's click on info. So something wrong while transferring token. Okay, but we don't have any error here. So let's come back here. So let's close this one. Okay, so everything's look good. So we have this big number, we have this data here, we have this address here, we have this making connections, we have the modules. Things are looking good, but why the transactions is not displaying? Provider, we have the signer, we have the data, signer, fetch contract function, passing that. Okay, transfer function we are calling, and this is come here. So things are looking good, no problem we have here. Let's come back to the transfer component and what we are doing here. Let's remove this one data, and we are using this 3 data. Let's copy this transfer token functions in case we have, and here we have the input placeholder. So here we have this one, so let's change this to number, not text. So number. Okay, save it. Now let's come back to the browser, and as you can see, it's working fine. Here we are retrieving the data from our smart contract. Let's reload the browser, and here we have the data. As you can see, total number of token, and here we are displaying the token we have transfer. Reload the browser one more time, and we are displaying the data. So ID number 1, here we have the ID number 1 and ID number 2, and as you can see, this we have done only one transaction, but it's rendering twice. And can you guess why it's happening? This happening because of use state. So there are a couple of things you have to do in the use state, which I'm not going to do in this video. If you guys really want me to do that, then do leave in the comment section. Okay, I want you to do this and fix this problem. Okay, why it's rendering twice. Okay, if you really want me to do leave in the comment section, then I will make a separate video on this where I will show you how you can stop this. So everything's working fine. We can able to get the ID, we can able to get the number of token, we can easily able to display the token number, and we have assigning and converting that what is the worth of the token. You can see in the form of dollar. So things are looking pretty good, and if you do the page, everything's working fine. Let's come here and let's do the transaction. So here you can see, if we click on the send token function, the transaction is successful. And if we click on this assets, here you can see we have deducted some token from our account number 1. So the first account, the owner of account. Okay, we have this account, and you can see the total number of account left and the total balance left. You can see where we have transferred the token. Now let's click here in MetaMask, and if we go to the account number 3 where we have sent the token, as you can see, it has 453 token. We have transferred to the, now let's do the transfer to the account number 4. Let's import this one, FunToken, and it's going to be a 0 import. Right now it has 0 token. Let's come here, go to the account number. Okay, first we have to get the account number 4. So reset this one. Let's reload the browser. Here the account we have, everything's working fine. Now let's do the transfer token. Okay, let's remove this one. Let's come here once again, and we have to get the account address. So go to account number 4, copy the address, and account number 2. Now leave the browser and simply paste the address, and the number of token we want to transfer to account number 4 is, let's say, 634. Okay, this is this much token we want to transfer. Click on the send, and here we have the pop-up. Now just wait, and account number 2, account number 4, click on confirm. Reload the browser, and boom, here you can see the transaction is successful. So ID 2 and number of token we have transferred, the worth, and the address where we have transferred the token. So everything's working fine. Let's come minimize this and let's see how it's look on a mobile device. So it's look really good on a mobile phone. You can see here we have the balance, we have the address, we have the hero section, we have this beautiful analytics sections, and we have this component, and this is how to look on a desktop. So everything's working fine. let's click on MetaMask and let's try to go to account number 4 and let's reload the page. And here you can see we are on account number 4, and the total of token account number 4 has is 634, and that's what this displaying, its ID and the account address. And you can see the total token left here, because this left token is coming from the contract. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Now let's come here and let's switch to other account. So we have also transferred to the account number 3, so let's copy and reload the browser. And here you can see we have 453 token in account number 3, and everything's working fine. So it's look incredibly good. So I hope you have liked this project, and so I hope you have liked this project. So I believe so with that we have done with this project, and I believe that you have enjoyed this complete project where you have learned how you can create your own ERC20 token and deploy and transfer and do all those testing. So there are a couple of improvements which you can make in this application. The one problem we have is that this components are rendering twice, so you have to fix this problem. And every time we are making this transaction, we have to reload the browser manually. So you can simply add this function that whenever you do the transfer, it will automatically reload the browser, or you can display a loader. The assets I have already provided to you. So hope you have enjoyed this project. If you have any questions, any doubt, do leave in the comment section. I would love to help you on that. And once again, if you are stuck anywhere, all the source codes are already provided to you on my website. So from there you can get the starter file and you can build this application. So hope to see you in the next project, and I hope you have enjoyed it. And if you do so, do hit and like, subscribe my channel. That will motivate me a lot to make this project, and so you guys can learn and I will learn also as well. Have a wonderful day.